Dark, low-frequency music fades in. A slow, uneasy zoom crawls toward an empty courtroom bench, the judge's chair looming like a shadow from the past. A single gavel strike echoes metallic haunting. A judge's voice, calm yet icy, cuts through the silence. In this court's opinion, the evidence is overwhelming. This court finds the defendant guilty. Smash cut to a photograph of Caryn, illuminated by a stark, cold light. Cut again, this time to an image of Ron Roloff in his final days, frail, fatting, vulnerable. Screen fades to black. Tonight, we step into a fictional courtroom drama, a story imagined by fans across online forums. A what-if scenario exploring the ultimate betrayal and the day justice finally came knocking. Text flickers onto the screen, bold and unmistakable. This is a fictional dramatization based on fan discussion. Music intensifies for a moment, then drops into silence. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Soft courtroom ambience fades in, the low rumble of murmuring voices under dim lights. The camera pans across empty benches, stacks of folders, and a single spotlight illuminating the judge's chair. Narrator steady, serious tone. Before we go any further, let's make one thing absolutely clear. A beat of silence. This video is not real news. Nothing in this story is factual, confirmed, or connected to real-life legal proceedings. Instead, what you're about to watch is a dramatic what-if scenario, a piece of fan-crafted storytelling inspired by years of rumors, speculation, and the emotional tension that has surrounded the Roloff family. Cut to a montage of LPBW clips, shadowy silhouettes, and slow-motion shots of courtroom doors closing. For over a decade, viewers of Little People, Big World have debated one topic more intensely than almost any other: Caryn Chandler's influence on the Roloff family, and specifically on the final years of Matt Roloff's father, Ron Roloff. Some fans defend her fiercely, others suspect manipulation, control, or hidden motives. And from that debate, the online world has built its own universe of theories, possibilities, and imagined outcomes. The camera shifts to a dramatic recreation of a judge's bench, papers slamming down, the echo of a gavel. Tonight's video dives boldly into that fan-constructed universe. We're stepping inside a fictional courtroom, built entirely from imagination, exploring what some fans believe might have happened in an alternate timeline where rumors become evidence, whispers become testimony, and long-running tension becomes a full-blown legal showdown. A folder labeled "The Trial of Caryn Chandler, Fan Fiction FILES" flips open. In the next hour, we're walking you through every part of this fictional trial. The accusations fans have imagined. The dramatic evidence created purely for storytelling. And the emotional verdict that shakes this alternate Roloff world to its core. Slow zoom on the judge's gavel. But beyond the drama, this video explores why this scenario fascinates fans, why Caryn's involvement in family decisions has sparked so much debate, why viewers still question the dynamics between her and the Roloffs, and why, even in a fictional retelling, the emotional stakes feel so high. The narrator's voice softens, leaning into intrigue. So settle in, because in this alternate universe, truth and rumor collide, loyalties fracture, and the judge's final words leave the Roloff family forever changed. Fade into black. Welcome to the fictional trial of Caryn Chandler. From the outside, the Roloff world often appeared warm, quirky, and full of family charm. But in this fictional narrative, fans had long whispered about a different energy, one that seemed to linger just behind the cameras. Over the years, some viewers in this imaginary storyline convinced themselves that Caryn's presence in family decisions felt too confident, too strategic, almost as if she were quietly steering conversations in ways only the most observant fans noticed. In this fictional universe, message boards lit up with theories, subtle comments, sharp glances, moments where Caryn seemed to jump into Roloff discussions before anyone asked her to. Nothing concrete, just the kind of speculation that grows legs inside a storytelling world fueled by dramatic tension. As this imagined backstory unfolds, the final months of Ron Roloff's life become a focal point of growing unease. In the fictional script, Ron is portrayed as vulnerable, battling declining health while trying to maintain peace within the family. Yet viewers are shown scenes of Caryn hovering, sometimes offering help, sometimes offering opinions that felt strangely forceful. In this narrative, private conversations are hinted at but never fully revealed, fueling a did she or didn't she mystery that only deepens the drama. The tension between Ron and Caryn becomes an unspoken thread, a quiet tug-of-war where Ron's weariness meets Caryn's determined insistence that she knows what's best. The fictional allegations forming the backbone of this story begin to grow here, that Caryn may have emotionally influenced Ron during his weakest moments, or possibly guided him toward decisions that ultimately benefited her more than him. Again, purely imagined, purely dramatic. But in this world, it's enough to set off alarm bells among the Roloffs. Family members start to compare notes, piecing together small moments they once brushed aside. A comment Ron made that didn't sound like him. A document he signed when he barely had the strength to lift a pen. A shift in tone that now feels suspicious. And piece by piece, they realize they can't ignore the uncomfortable possibility lingering between them. The breaking point arrives when the family in this fictional universe decides that speculation isn't enough. They need answers. They gather around a long wooden table, faces tense, emotions swirling, and come to a collective choice. Everything must be brought into the courtroom. It's not just about Caryn anymore, it's about protecting Ron's legacy, even if that means tearing open wounds that never truly healed. The decision sends shockwaves through the family and becomes the spark that ignites the entire storyline. Outside the Roloff circle, the public reaction is explosive. Fans in this fictional world split into factions overnight. Social media becomes a battlefield of opinions, some defending Caryn fiercely, others insisting they always sensed a darker motive. Hashtags trend, reaction videos flood timelines, and a frenzy of online debates drowns out any sense of calm. The atmosphere grows heavier by the day, thick with suspicion and emotion, as everyone waits to see what will be uncovered once the courtroom doors finally close. By the end of this section, the pressure is unmistakable. Something dark is bubbling beneath the surface. Accusations hang in the air like storm clouds, and the Roloff world, normally filled with laughter, farm life, and family milestones, now feels like a powder keg ready to ignite. The stage is set. The whispers have become shouts, and the fictional trial is about to begin. The courtroom doors swing open as the bailiff calls the room to order, and in an instant the fictional trial begins with a tension so thick the audience can feel it through the screen. The prosecutor rises first, delivering an opening statement that paints Caryn as a quiet but calculating presence in Ron Roloff's final months. He describes a pattern of subtle influence, whispered conversations, and suspicious decisions made when Ron was at his weakest. He gestures toward the jury, insisting they look beyond the smiles and charm fans recognize from television and instead examine the imagined evidence that suggests something darker. Caryn's defense attorney fires back with equal force. In this what-if scenario, he argues that Caryn is being unfairly targeted, a scapegoat for a family long divided by old grudges and emotional turf wars. He claims the accusations stem from jealousy, from unresolved Roloff family tension, and from a desire to rewrite what happened at the end of Ron's life. The courtroom watches as Caryn's expression shifts between anger and disbelief, her hands tightening around a stack of tissues she hasn't yet used. One by one, the fictional witnesses take the stand. A family member recalls moments when Caryn seemed to steer conversations away from certain topics, especially anything involving Ron's health or financial plans. Another describes feeling uncomfortable with how quickly Caryn inserted herself into private matters, offering advice that didn't feel like advice at all. Their words aren't accusations, they're recollections, filled with pauses, quivering voices, and the weight of unresolved emotion. At times, the courtroom falls silent except for the distant hum of the air vents. Caryn herself eventually takes the stand, her voice tense as she insists the family has misunderstood everything. She claims every action she took was to support Ron, not control him. But the fictional prosecutor presses harder. What about the messages? The conflicting documents? The moments where Ron seemed confused or pressured? Caryn's composure cracks. She raises her voice, tearfully insisting the alleged messages are being twisted, that the narrative is being built on resentment rather than truth. A gasp ripples through the crowd when she slams her hand down in frustration. Then comes the emotional heart of the testimony, imagined recollections of Ron Roloff's final days. A relative describes his vulnerability, his confusion, and the way he seemed caught between wanting peace and not wanting to disappoint anyone. The courtroom grows painfully quiet. A woman in the gallery wipes her eyes. Even the judge shifts slightly in his chair, the gravity of the moment settling heavily over the room. The prosecutor uses this moment to deliver a chilling portrayal of coercion and control, a scenario where Ron's trust may have been taken advantage of in subtle but devastating ways. The defense counters with an equally emotional argument, claiming the family is rewriting history to soothe their guilt and find a villain where none exists. By the end of this section, the fictional courtroom is divided. Some spectators watch Caryn with sympathetic eyes, believing she's a victim of relentless family drama. Others glare with distrust, convinced she manipulated a dying man who simply didn't have the strength to push back. The tension is palpable, the kind that holds the room hostage, the kind that keeps the audience glued to every shaky breath and every whispered side conversation. As the lawyers return to their tables and the judge calls for a short recess, the atmosphere feels electric. Everyone knows the verdict is still far away, but the emotional weight of what has been said lingers like a storm cloud ready to break. The courtroom sits in absolute stillness as the judge finally returns after hours of tense deliberation. The air feels heavy, thick with anticipation. No one dares breathe too loudly. Caryn stares forward, hands clasped tightly together, her expression fixed but trembling at the edges. Across the room, members of the Roloff family sit shoulder to shoulder, united only by anxiety and uncertainty. The judge settles into their seat, adjusts their glasses, and begins to speak slowly, deliberately, each word landing like a hammer on stone. Then it happens. The fictional ruling drops like thunder. This court finds the defendant guilty. Gasps ripple through the room. A few people in the gallery cover their mouths. A chair creaks as someone sinks back, overwhelmed. Caryn's reaction is immediate and explosive in this imagined story. Her eyes widen in disbelief, then narrow with outrage. She shakes her head violently, whispers turning into raised protests. "This isn't right, you don't understand, this is wrong." Her voice cracks between denial and anger as she clings to the edge of the defendant's table. Security moves closer, sensing the emotional storm brewing. The Roloff family responds with a mix of heartbreak and vindication. Matt lowers his head, his shoulders trembling as years of tension climax in a single moment. Zach looks stunned, somewhere between relief and grief, while other family members exchange tearful glances, unsure of what comes next. No one truly wins here. The verdict fractures their already fragile family dynamic even further. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupts in true alternate universe fashion. Reporters shove microphones forward, shouting questions that no one is ready to answer. Fans crowd the steps, some crying into their phones during live streams, others cheering as if a long-awaited justice has finally been served. Hashtags begin to explode online, #Justice for Ron, Caryn verdict, Roloff trial, fueling a wildfire of debates and heated opinions across social media. In this fictional timeline, the verdict becomes a turning point for Caryn's future. Her reputation is shredded within minutes. Her professional ties evaporate. Supporters grow silent while critics grow louder. Her life becomes a storm of legal consequences, public backlash, and the harsh reality of being the central figure in the most explosive scandal this alternate universe of LPBW has ever seen. As for the Roloff legacy, it emerges forever changed. Fans debate whether this moment strengthens the family's standing or exposes deeper fractures that will never fully heal. Documentaries, podcasts, and endless commentary attempt to unpack what happened, turning the verdict into a defining chapter in the imagined history of the Roloffs. And as the dust settles, one thing is clear in this dramatic what-if world. The ripple effect of this ruling will echo far beyond the courtroom. As the fictional courtroom fades into silence, we're left with more than just a dramatic verdict. We're left reflecting on the deeper themes this imagined scenario brings to life. At its heart, this story isn't about guilt or innocence, nor is it about rewriting real events. Instead, it explores the fragile nature of trust, the influence people can hold over one another, and the long-running tensions that have shaped the Roloff family narrative in the public eye. It also shows how easily perception can become its own kind of reality, especially within a fanbase as passionate and invested as the LPBW community. And once again, it's important to emphasize that everything you've watched in this video, the courtroom scenes, the testimony, the verdict, and the fallout, is entirely fictional. It's a dramatic, imaginative what-if piece inspired by fan conversations, speculation, and ongoing debates, not an actual legal event or real accusation. Storytelling gives us the space to explore emotions, possibilities, and alternate paths without claiming them as truth. LPBW has always sparked intense discussion among viewers, and this creative reimagining is just another example of how deeply the show's characters and conflicts resonate with fans. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.